Mr. Sullivan.
And what can I say except Mr. Jackson?
That's all you had to say.
That's the only thing you can say.
That's really it.
I would know your voice anywhere. I might be walking down a street in London and somebody would said, Mr. Sullivan, and I would immediately know who it was.
You see? That's so great. Where are you today?
No, I'm sitting by the fire in Toronto. Yeah, I've got a great, it's a basement room in our main house, and it's really cozy during the winter. So this is, with rare exceptions, this is basically where Joy of Procrastination has come from my side throughout our storied.
In the winter.
History.
Okay. I figured I have you pictured over in the garden house.
No, I kind of like a fireplace during the winter.
Love it.
I've got a fireplace here, and it's great. Very, very interesting. From my perspective, because I'm right in that period where I'm moving quickly towards new workshop creation.
Oh, yes.
So that's two. I got two that I prepare. One is the 10 times program, and then the second one is the game changer. Both of which you will see.
That's exactly right. Well, Dan, let me ask you something though. Do you ever procrastinate that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's really interesting. Because I've been procrastinating for the past 2 weeks. I've actually quite skillfully, by the way, quite skillfully.
I love it.
Skillfully procrastinating them, and we've often talked about the who side of it. In other words, there's a bigger and better goal. But I just want to touch base with you that what I'm really waiting for, because the who will spring into action when I am absolutely sold on the what and why.
Yes, I think that's absolutely true.
And it strikes me that the step you have to take after you've completely admitted, first of all, you've actually told the truth, because in Alcoholics Anonymous program, Bill Wilson, who is one of the key players to start the AA program,
the 12-step,
12-step program. The first step is all progress starts by telling the truth. Okay. So, if you're a procrastinator and you're truly committed to coming to take ownership for your procrastination, you have to first of all tell the truth. You are a procrastinator, and you and I handled this a long time ago individually, but also then when we made our compact to start this podcast series, we were encouraged. I think I was encouraged, and you were encouraged, that you were joyfully committed to actually discussing this topic.
Yes, and not alone. Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's ever been two more joyful discussers of procrastination on the planet. I've certainly never heard of it.
Me neither. I think this is great.
And I've not seen it depicted in novels. I've not seen it depicted in stage plays. I've not seen it depicted in movies, in TV series, where two individuals are talking about this topic like they would talk about their favorite hobby or their favorite destinations in the world, where they talk about this. Is I think we're unique. I think actually. I would like the listeners to know that what you are listening to over this hour is not only probably totally unique to you, that you would have two people talking about procrastination, but this may very well be unique in the history of the human race.
That's true. Now, what's fun is I just had a 2-day event with my real estate agents for our Go Agent Academy. And, a lot of the people there are avid listeners of our Joy of Procrastination and love the conversations and embrace themselves as procrastinators. So the message is getting through.
So there is they talk about certain conditions not being infectious.
Yes.
So what you're telling me is this one actually is infectious.
It really is. And it was fun. We had a nice discussion about it. Some of the people that were here were also in Toronto when you came, and we recorded a live Joy of Procrastination.
Oh, yes, I remember
in
exactly.
Toronto. And some of the people, Penny was one of them, was sharing with me how, hearing you talk about the, living to 156 and how it's not just about the actuality of living to 156, but the intention of living to 156. How would you be acting and what would you be doing if you believed and knew that you were going to live to 156? And that, Penny said, changed everything for her. And she's just like renewed and excited and moving forward. And that makes a big difference. Of course, Tom Cook, who wasn't at this one, but in Toronto, in his early 70s now, thinking, should I start winding down or sort of hear you, a few years even older than him with your 25-year plan, made him evaluate things. And it's so great, especially, your, now a living, inspiration in that you're not a 40-year-old proposing this. You are a 74-year-old proposing this and living it. And that really, that's like and you're literally every year at the top of your game with a bigger and bigger future. And so that's, it's all pretty exciting.
I'll just very quickly in 1 minute sum up a podcast that Shannon and Waller and I did. Shannon being our, next to Babs and myself, the person who has been in the strategic coach company the longest. So Shannon will be 28 years in, I believe it's July, she'll be 28 years. And we have a podcast series which is called Inside Strategic Coach, where we talk about one inside program concepts, the concepts that we actually coach in the program, but also inside strategic coach from the standpoint how we think about the growth and development of our company. And we just very quickly hit upon the psychological usefulness, just what you're saying about the conversations that you had with Penny and Tom, that I think in terms of a 25-year framework, with the knowledge that 25 years is 100 quarters. And what that frees me up is just to focus on one quarter, because I know I have a lot more coming. I have many more quarters coming, so I don't have to worry, do I have time? I've got massive amounts of time. But it's actually the purpose of the 25-year framework isn't some 25-year goal. It's a framework which allows me just to zero in on the goals of the next quarter without having to spend time thinking about anything beyond the next quarter. So that's one thing. And the second part is that I think in terms of a 156-year lifetime, not that I'm obsessed with that goal. It's just that the framework, the thinking framework that gives me is actually just say, well, what am I doing today? So I've got two ways out of two frameworks, a 25-year one, work-related, and a 156-year one, lifetime related, that just allows me to, first of all, think in terms that the next quarter's goals are the only goals I really need to spend time on, and the activities of today are the only activities that I really need to focus on. So that's really the reason for that.
Mm-hmm. I think there's so much value in playing with your time perceptions, because really time is just a construct anyway, right? It's really just how we bring to the present, because in reality, this is the only thing we have is right now. So everything else is a construct and a thinking mechanism, really, to frame everything, which really only helps us decide what to be doing right now.
Yes.
So I've just loved these ways of thinking about it, because the abundant time mindset of 100 units every day is really makes you feel like there's a lot of runway. Are you still aware? I find myself now really measuring and getting better at understanding how long things take. I've really kind of become a much better time estimator, knowing what I can accomplish in a 10-minute period, and it's surprisingly it's a surprisingly long enough time when you're even just for sitting still and centering, or getting regrouping, or getting prepared for something with a 10-minute window. And I know you have a policy of always being early for things, and that you take that, because I look forward to it. I look forward to when I can be early for something, even if it's 10 minutes early, to have the time to sit and just relax and get present.
Yeah, and there's an easy test. I have people say, well, I don't know if that would work for me. This is not just in relationship to the thought that you just talked about, Dean, being early all the time. But it could be about any minds, it could be about any, experimenting with any way of looking at things that's new to you. And I said, well, why don't you set up a little test? And it need not be more than a week long, where you say, I'm going to pick 5 things this week where it wouldn't really matter whether I was exactly on time or not. So in other words, if I was a couple minutes late, it wouldn't make any difference. It wouldn't hurt my reputation. It wouldn't make the other person uncomfortable, or anything like that. And then pick 5 other ones during the week where you're just purposely going to make sure that you're there 5 minutes early before the appointed time. Okay. And with each of them, just notice in the moment, like you're now, you're supposed to be there and you still have 3 minutes to go. How does that feel to you? are you feeling good about this? Are you thinking about what the other person must be thinking and everything? Just notice your energy level. Just notice the kinds of thoughts that are going through your mind. You don't have to write these down, but just be conscious of them, and do that 5 times, and do the same for the other. Do the same for the other. I'm here 5 minutes early. And how am I feeling about this? And then at the end of the week, at the end of 7 days, compare the 5 where you were 2 or 3 minutes late against the 5 where you were 5 minutes early, and say, is there a difference there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that, and you don't even need to. You can imagine the difference. It's I can tell you from my experience of it that you just feel much more relaxed and positive going into things.
And if first of all, if you're 10 minutes early or 5 minutes early, you don't feel that you're missing anything. In other words, you're not at risk of anything. Okay, and if the other person is then late, then you have the grounds for feeling superior.
Which is always great. That's
I never ever neglect an opportunity to feel superior.
Oh, that's funny. It's one of the driving things. It's one of our things that we enjoy, is feeling higher status than people.
Yeah. Well, what's really funny, we have our lunch dates, either at Jacques Bistro in Toronto or Le Select Bistro in Toronto, our favorite being Jacques Bistro.
Yes.
And there's this interesting little competition that's been going of who can be the earliest. Like in the calendar, on the schedule, it says 11:30.
Yes.
What I'm noticing is how much earlier than 11:30 can you be? And sometimes you've won, and sometimes I've won.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
But we have both the knowledge that we're joint celebrants in being early. We're participants in being early.
I love that. I miss those. Like I really do miss the quarterly rhythm of that in Toronto, because I haven't been to Toronto this winter since September, when we were in there, because I've been, of course, going to Game Changer in Chicago, and so one of the things I'm really looking forward to in the spring is the return to Toronto.
Yeah.
Getting in our rhythm there.
Yeah, and we just are starting to get the first feel that there's something that happens. I think it's usually a month before the official start of spring. So on the 21st, Babs and I were, driving home from the office, and all of a sudden, first of all, it was light out, and we've been used to going home in the dark, in 5:30 or so, and it's light because we're approaching the equinox, the spring equinox.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, you get a feeling, hey, you kind of feel like spring's coming. But it's a whole bunch of things, because I think that it's not just your imagination or your awareness of the date, but I think nature itself, the trees and everything else, they start responding to this too.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. And animals, I think, are generally kind of just on time.
Just on time.
Yeah, like leaves and flowers and that. I think that they're acutely attuned to when is just the right time to pop out, and birds and squirrels and everything else. But it's an interesting thing. And I can we go back and pick up on the that time is a construct. Can
Yes.
you go deeply more into that? Because a lot of people,
Yeah, I can.
I would say, if you would say those words to them, time is a construct, and they said, no, time's not a construct. I mean, I didn't create time. So if someone said to you, Dean, well, I didn't create time. What do you mean it's a construct? What are you saying to them?
So I mean, it's maybe construct is the right word, but a model. It's just it's a theoretical almost. I don't know, maybe that's not the right word, but it's something that we can only imagine in any other time frame than now. And I've been really looking at this concept of, what I'm calling time travel, in a way that we have the ability to reflect. We have the ability to remember, to look back on something and learn from what happened, like doing like an experience transformer gives us the opportunity to look back on something. And you're really time traveling in a way that you are observing what happened. It's already happened, but we're observing it, and then imagining what it would have been better, like rewriting it, and then looking forward to create an opportunity to make it never happen again, right? Or to how to respond if it does happen again. And I mentioned to you a long time ago that uh, my one of my I know I'm being successful when sort of mindsets has been
Yes.
that I know I'm being successful when I can wake up every day and say, what would I like to do today? And one of the way, that's a model. That's a thing that requires me to create things in my life in a certain way. And where my big advancements have come is in loosening my literalness of that, where we're to at all costs keep my calendar clear, which has been my for 20 years my model, and to now sort of embrace. I wake up every day and say, what would I like to do tomorrow? Because there are more options for tomorrow than there are for today if I plan them in advance. Like, I think about what what I was doing was protecting and favoring the experience of present Dean, today Dean, to without really by limiting future Dean. Like having that where present Dean insists on waking up and deciding today what he would like to do, that limits the opportunities for future Dean. And this is kind of like a really amazing like mind shift when you really kind of get into this mindset that what I look now, when I say, what would I like to do tomorrow? It's like I'm thinking, because I realize that future Dean is really only present Dean, 2 weeks from now or a month from now or whenever. It's the same guy, right? And so often I would wake up and think, I wish I had set up something, this or whatever it is. So I know what I like. I know the things that bring me joy. And so I can now take some of my time today to set up things that future Dean is going to wake up today and say, I'm so glad I get to do this. I'm so glad that past Dean set me up to be able to do this. And it's actually you have more options, more opportunities, and it actually involves less time than trying to create stuff, scrambling at the last minute for things, if that makes sense. And so
I mean,
I think about that as time travel,
Well, and that's, to use a term from another, from the computer world, especially the software world, is that you're kind of using a faculty that you have, which is called time awareness, and seeing it in units to kind of program an improvement in the program that will be realized a week down the road, 2 weeks down the road. We're actually programming, and that's really what goal setting is. It's a form of self-programming. You're taking stock of who you are right now, and kind of establishing a measurement that you have of yourself right now, and then you're projecting in the future, and you're setting up an imaginary measurement where specific things are bigger or better.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I saw a movie. There was two of them. There's been two of this movie. I think it's called Now You See Me. That was a movie about the magicians with Mark Garofalo, I think was the guy's Ruffalo, maybe. I don't know what do you say his last name, and Morgan Freeman and
Ruffalo, Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah. So do you remember this movie where he's a magician? And
no, I haven't seen that movie.
Okay, so it's a really interesting movie. His father's a very renowned magician in the movie, and one of the concepts that plays out is this idea of playing the long game, and this idea that his father set up a trick, like a magic trick, that required years for this to pay off, in that there was I don't remember the specifics of the thing, but the card was going to appear in this tree, where the tree had grown around the tree trunk had grown around the card. If you imagine when you cut a tree, the tree continues to live but grows around it, right? So it took 20 years to set this up, but he did it, and then the trick is ready to pay off 20 years later, and everybody's minds are blown by what happens. So it's like, that was a pretty impactful, interesting lesson, to start thinking about what can you do now that's going to have a payoff in 20 years, or in any time frame in the future. The same principle applies. Is imagine using our ability to time travel now, time traveling in our minds, like thinking that way, and imagine what would I really love to see happen then, and how can I go ahead and set that up so it happens now. And it can be simple things where you're you imagine that I'm going to need something in the future. I used to do a series where 20 years ago, I had this idea of Make My Life Better Day, where every Monday I would think of something that would make my life better, and something that would calamity proof my life. And I would think about, like, what's a calamity that could happen if that I could be that could get me in trouble, or an uncomfortable situation, or something that would be a big hassle. And so, for instance, one of the things was, well, if I lost my wallet, that would be a calamity, right? Because all of your stuff is in there. And so I thought, well, how can I calamity proof myself from that? And one of the ways, of course, is to just take the wallet and empty it out and take a picture of both the front and the back of everything in your wallet and put it in now you've got a picture of the contents of everything in your wallet. And if anything happened, there you go. You've got all the numbers and the stuff, and it's not as much of a calamity as it would have been if you just lost it,
I think,
and
yeah, I mean, that's the practical tip of the day for our listenership to, should you choose to follow through on this project, you can have it done by the end of the day.
Yeah. And every Monday, I would think about that is what would make my life better and what would be a calamity that I could calamity proof. And I thought, another one is if I got pulled over, if you get pulled over by the police for anything, you're always scrambling, where's my registration and stuff. So I had a yellow envelope and I put everything, take a photocopy of my driver's license just in case I don't have it with me at the time. So you got your driver's license, the registration, insurance, all of that in one, just in case you get pulled over envelope, and put that in the glove box. And so now you're prepared, for that kind of thing. Or, all kinds of things like that, where you could just prepare for stuff and do something now that's going to affect you later.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'll give you a very real world, engineering version of your card trick. Can I give you that?
Yes, of course.
I mean, your future So in Toronto, we have a major river valley that flows right down kind of the east side of the downtown, called the Don Valley, and the Don Valley River is in that Don Valley. And that was a major separator, physical barrier, right up until 1920. And in the early 20s, they finally decided on the main east-west street, which was Bloor Danforth. Bloor on one side of the valley and Danforth on the other side of the valley. Essentially the same street, but not connected until in 1920. They built a really beautiful bridge. It's called the Prince Edward Viaduct. And immediately, it was a 4-lane paved road, since they went through all the trouble of constructing it, designing it beautifully, constructing it and everything else. And then immediately the whole eastern suburbs of downtown Toronto began to prosper because they now had this major street. So this is the 1920s. Now I'm going to fast forward to 1954, and Toronto had grown, and they were starting to face the problem that they already had streetcars, and they already had probably early buses. I know they had streetcars, but early buses. And they said, we got to put a subway in. We got to start thinking about a subway. And so in their planning sessions, this is before they actually went out and did the complete survey, road surveys, and everything else. One of the considerable expenses is going to be retrofitting the bridge, the big bridge that we have. We're going, it's going to take quite a while, and that's probably going to put the bridge out of operation for a while. And we have to figure that this is going to be a major disruption. It's going to be a major cost, major disruption. So finally, they said, well, why don't we go out and, get sizings on the bridge and put together a plan on how we're going to retrofit it. This is where the card from the past came in, because the bridge builder was from London in England, and he had built bridges across the Thames. He said when he was designing the bridge in the 1920s, someday this is going to be the likely spot that they're going to want to put a subway. So he completely designed in all the specifications underneath the road for the subway to go through.
Wow.
And this was like news. I mean, this was like a big thing. And it's been used ever since, in city politics, provincial politics, as the great example of someone visionary having the insight that even though we're doing something for this purpose right now, in the future, there will be an additional purpose that's required for this. And I might as well do all the planning for that right now, so they don't have to tear things apart and start over again when they do that.
Yeah, isn't that, thinking that's where this 25-year framework really is a valuable thing. I mean, we were talking about that this weekend, that the 25-year framework helps you think like things that you almost can't foresee. Some things you can foresee, but you don't know how it's actually going to come to be. And then this next, the 3-year kind of time frame is something you can actually probably see what's happening. Like we were saying, how nothing's going to shock. There's not going to be any shocking development in the next 3 years that's going to come out of nowhere and completely have full adoption and change anything. Anything that is going to do that is already on the radar in somewhere. It's already disruptive, as Peter would say, right? It's already present and happening.
Yeah.
Like people are at some point, blockchain and cryptocurrencies are, and artificial intelligence, at some point it's going to reach the tipping point and bam, it's completely like changed everything. And it's going to feel like it happened in no time. But the reality is it's happening right now. And you can see that that's an inevitable thing that's happening, But you couldn't have really, you can't act on that 25. Most people can't act on things that are going to take that long of a time to unfold. You mentioned that like you think about the value of the real estate on the east side of the Don Valley, the immediate jump in value from 1919 to 1921. The value of now, especially now, like you're describing, those are some of the most affluent neighborhoods in Toronto still, right? On both sides of the Don Valley there. And Bloor, specifically, when you're looking at Lawrence Park and those areas there, Forest Hill. So
on
those
the west
things,
side, and and then on the east side, all of a sudden, they weren't quite as wealthy, but there was this vast expansion of people who, let's say, were middle class according to the standards of the day, could have homes where they could get into the inner city much more quickly because, because of first of all, the bridge in the 1920s and then the subway in the 1950s. And it's really interesting to see that, from your business, I mean, you have with your mapping system, how you map, starting with Toronto, map out all of the distinct home residents, the residential neighborhoods, and then saying, within every one of these residential neighborhoods, there are, I'm not quite remembering here, Dean, whether it was 7 or 8, but there are 8 theoretical sales where a person could actually come in with one purchase of a home and stay within this residential neighborhood throughout their life and move to 7 other different types of real estate purchases while they were doing that. Yeah, well, you're looking ahead. I mean, and every time you could see another jump of purchase, a purchaser going to, maybe moving 3 blocks into their next higher domicile, and then taking it all the way through to the ultimate one, maybe it's an 8th one, you were using time as a construct.
Yeah, that's right. And it's really, it's interesting that, since we did our session in Toronto in the fall, one of the gentlemen that was there with us was talking about that 25-year framework as a fundamental thing that now he starts every conversation with his clients is in talking about, almost sitting back and saying, tell me about the next 25 years here. And they're like, not just talking about, we're going to go find a house right now, or we're going to sell this house. He wants to have a framework about, where does this fit in the 25-year plan here? And having that conversation with them, they're saying, well, why do you want to know that? He's like, because I want to be involved in it with you over the next 25 years. So where are we going from here? With this house, are we looking for the house for the next 25 years? Or are we looking for a house that we can transition to something else so we can make the best choice to poise us for this, the ultimate end destination? And that's really, a kind of a game changer in the way that most real estate agents have conversations with people, because they're only usually focused on the next 90 days of, let's get this one on the market and get it sold. They're not thinking about a lifetime relationship.
Yeah, and I would say the real thing is that seeing them in simply the retail business, they're actually in the relationship business.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah. I guess Babs and I have done that in our approach to real estate in the beaches, because, we started with a smallish house and nice house, fundamentally 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. I'm just trying to think here. 1, 2, 3 fireplaces. And then we said that, it was a little bit small for us, but we want more. So then we bought another property 2 houses away, tore it down, built it. And that added, essentially 3 more bedrooms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more baths, 4 more fireplaces, and another kitchen and laundry. And now we were just adding them up. We were buying, but we weren't selling, and then we acquired a 3rd one in the middle, and we built that one up. And so instead of moving all around the beaches, we just moved the
beaches around for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of the reason is 25 years from now, we want to be where we are.
Yes. And that's awesome. I mean, you've got such a beautiful, we'll call it a compound there now.
Yeah.
And if only the people behind you would get off so you could get that and have your straight through driveway, you'd be in business.
Yeah, well, I think that's been taken out of the game, because the only place where we could do that, somebody actually took over a not so nice house, and they've completely renovated it now, and they've done a great job on it. So I think that's sort of a permanent structure. And
oh boy,
we don't want to acquire another house. I mean,
right.
We might have acquired the property before it was renovated, but the world has a vote too, Dean.
That's right. That's so funny. I love it.
You can have too. You can have your plans and you can have your desires, but the world has a vote on how things are going to go. I just wanted to bounce a thought over off of you because on Friday I did something that I had never done before, and I was really pleased with it at the end of the day. And that is, I woke up with the thought that the world was not created for me.
Wait a second. And how did that feel?
Oh, well, it felt very, very liberating. Okay, and I'll just tell you, a quick progression of thoughts. Then I will tell you there was a second thought that added to it, and I got so intrigued with this that I had this podcast session with Shannon Waller in the afternoon, and sometimes when I get a thought and the thought won't go away from me, I said, this thought is trying to get my attention, so there's something here. So the thing that I was thinking is I felt very freed up because that means I'm absolutely zero responsible for the way the world was when I arrived.
That's, yes.
I didn't pick up. I said, can't find the document that said that I wanted to be here.
That's true.
Yeah. Whatever my parents were thinking, I don't have a feeling it was about me.
Probably not specifically.
Yeah. And and the second part of the thought was that anytime, on the odd times it seems that the world was created for you, treat it as a coincidence.
That's a better frame to come from.
Yeah.
Well, that worked out well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like,
a lucky accident.
It's kind of like the weather is with you, It's geez, cutting this weather was designed for me. I said, no, just treat it like a coincidence, Yeah.
I've been really fascinated by this whole, I used to love one of the things about the Kekich credos, as our friend Joe Polish has introduced us to, with Dave Kekich's 100 credos for life. Yes. And Dave is, a wonderful thinker. I like his ideas a lot, and he has 100 Kekich credos that he puts in. One of them that was pretty interesting is that the universe is hostile to life. That's really what this everything has to fight to survive. It's not a natural thing. Everything, there's friction, uphill stuff for living, and it weeds out the that when you're not progressing or you're not fighting against the forces that are against your life in general, you're not growing.
Yeah, and I would say the other thing is, don't take this personally.
Right, that's good. Yeah, that it's not that it's fighting against you. It's everything's in the same boat, But it was really, there's so much of it where on certain parts it is set up against us, in opposition to us, but then it's also where things are in our favor. I was thinking about and read some stuff, some evolutionary psychology stuff, because I'm always fascinated by that so much of our decisions and motivations and actions are baked in with, we think we have a choice, but we're acting just naturally, about without our conscious thought being involved in it, because we're genetically wired to do certain things. And one of those things is, I've often talked about the idea of the more cheese, less whiskers, as the mouse is, prime directive to get cheese and avoid cats. But it's not 50-50. It's not, if we had to consciously evaluate every scenario that we're faced with and rationally come to a conclusion, should I stay and go for this cheese, or is that mouse or cat going to get to me in time? If we're trying to logically deduce it, we would be extinct as a species because we would be thinking of things. But we are, as Dave Asprey always says, on a mitochondrial level, we're programmed to survive. And that if we, if there's ever a doubt, our preference, our thing is to flee, right? To do that, to get away, because it's always more important to live to have another chance to get more cheese than it is to, risk your life trying to get this particular cheese,
Yeah, one of the, I saw a little documentary, and it was a African tribe that still exists, where there are really, really older, canny hunters. Like you have young boys who are, coming along, and their notion is, I'm going to go out and I'm going to stalk the animal and do that. And what the young boys began noticing, that this older hunter always brought back meat, but he didn't seem to rush out to do anything. And one day he said, I think the two of you are old enough. You're actually old enough that you can find out something new about hunting. I'm going to let you in on this. And he says, but you have to do exactly what I tell you when to do it. And what he did is that he said the first thing you look for is vultures.
Ah.
And this is sort of plains, the sort of pampas, sort of like pampas. This is not deep jungle we're talking about.
Right.
We're talking about where there's wide open spaces.
Yes.
And he said, okay, let's go where the vultures are. So they went and they ran. Okay, so they ran, and they noticed that they came to a clearing. And he says, okay, now you got to absolutely be silent, and I want you to see, we're going to come around a tree here, and I want you to look. And it was a pride of lions. Pride, that's what their group is called. And they had taken down a big antelope. Okay, all right.
Yes.
And he said, okay, now you have to do everything I say, and you can't talk, you can't do anything else. He said, I want you to do exactly what I do. So they have these big, almost like machete-like knives, and so they were, and the lions normally would pick up their scent, but the lions couldn't because they were smelling the blood of the antelope. And they were in frenzy. So he knew the lions were totally focused, and they're quite competitive of trying to get the best parts of the meat. So the younger lions and the older lions are kind of wrestling. And out of the bush come these three hunters, and he says, just walk straight towards them. He walks straight towards the lions who are feasting on the antelope or trying to tear it apart. And all of a sudden, the young lions pick up on it and they run for the bush, and all the lions run to the bush. It just creates a mass evacuation of the kill scene. And he said, okay, go for something you can cut off in 30 seconds. He says, we got roughly about a minute to pull this off. And so they're cutting away. And meanwhile, and this was actually captured on film, him actually doing this. So we actually have the film. And the cameraman is picking up the eyes of the lion starting to peer out and watching what's happening. And meanwhile, the three hunters, they cut off legs, they cut off, big hunks of meat. And he said, okay, we got enough, let's go. And he says, walk straight back. And that was it. And then the lions came out, and were they going to go after the hunters, or were they going to go after the antelope? They went after the antelope. And he said, works every time. Works every time.
That's amazing.
Says, look for the vultures. The vultures know where the kill is. And he says, just follow where the vultures are, then get quiet, see where the lions are, walk straight towards them. They'll run away. And he says, you get your meat. And then said, you don't need the whole antelope.
Oh, that's so funny. It's, it almost reminds me of the thing, go where the vultures are, watch where the things are. There's I've been watching on the internet, there's a group of fashion companies and we're starting to see it now, in award season, Oscar season, and the Golden Globes and the Grammys and all these things, that there is Chinese manufacturers that watch for these celebrities that show up at the Oscars or the awards in these, beautiful gowns, and then the next morning, these exact replica dresses are available to buy by these Chinese, knockoff artists that make the fashion stuff available. That's what that kind of reminded me of.
That seems to me exactly the same principle at work.
Yeah.
I mean that. Now here's the thing about that. My feeling is that's probably the technique that this guy has been around for thousands of years. It's not only captured on for other people to see because of video, but that's probably been in the works for a long time. And my feeling is that it perfectly illustrates the concept of who, not how.
Yes. That's true. I'm wondering, this is an interesting thought. If we go all the way back in time here, I wonder when the first art forgeries happened, or when people were starting to offer knockoff goods.
Well, we know the word sincere, which for modern folks, the word sincere means it's true, it's real, it's something's real. It actually goes back to gold dealers in Rome. It's a Latin word, and it was sincere. So the word sin, S-I-N, means without, and cherry means gold, or without lead. A cherry is lead.
Okay.
It's the mineral lead.
Yes.
Okay, so it's sincere. So when you say the word sincere, you mean without lead, because the gold dealers in Rome, the dishonest ones, know that you could have an outside of a statue which was 100% gold, but there's no, cherry is wax. It's wax. Okay, yeah, I don't know where I got that. So I want to give the correct information, because this will be spread all over the internet.
That's exactly right.
Within a day. So it's without lead, without wax. Cherry is wax. And what they would do is that they would very cleverly carve out the middle of a gold statue, and then they'd start packing it with wax. And they had figured out exactly what consistency of wax would come out the exact same weight as gold. Okay, because weighing something was exactly. And then they'd seal the bottom of the hole so that it didn't look like there was a hole. And so people would come around. And so the ones who wanted to say that their gold was without wax, in other words, it was 100% gold, they'd say, sincere, and that's where our word sincere comes from.
Isn't that something? It's funny. It reminded me, in Toronto at the Eaton Center, my good friend Jesse was victim of something very similar to that. He bought a notebook computer that was wrapped in in a box, like a original manufacturer box, and it was shrink wrapped in the package, and the guy had a real one on top of this. He had like 5 or 6 of these, and he had an open box that he was showing what the computer was. And Jesse,
which was
real, and Jesse bought one, and the guy gave him the box, and Jesse took it home, and it was filled with newspapers and stuff that were the same weight that filled the box, so it felt sincere. It felt like the right weight. But when he got home and opened it up, it was nothing but newspapers and no computer.
And unfortunately, that dealer wasn't there the next day.
Yes, exactly. Isn't that amazing? That's
yeah. Well, it's it's probably as much as there's
old as time.
Manufactured goods on the planet, some shysters have figured a way to game the system,
and life goes on, continuing.
Yeah. So, one thing you got out of today?
Well, this it was a good reminder. I think the amalgam of the thoughts that I was having about the long game and I think the progression of it all. That's really what was good for me. It reminded me about my calamity proofing and make my life better. I think I'm going to bring that back into action here. Time travel.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you're doing is that you're paying attention to future downside situations, And my feeling is that an enormous amount of our growth of collective intelligence as human beings has been to take unfortunate disasters, failures, breakdowns from the past and reverse engineer them and say, now we know what bad looks like. If we're not prepared for it, how do we prepare for it to either lessen the bad or to eliminate the bad in the future?
Yes. Agreed. Well, always delightful.
My sense is that everybody who sells something in the marketplace, their ability to lead a long and successful life where they have a reputation for high quality is because they have done the most at transforming the danger of future downsides, and they've kind of taken care of that in the way that they have designed their service or product or their value creation in such a way that even if the downside does happen, they're totally prepared to respond for it. Or they've we were threatened with high winds this afternoon, like 60 degrees, 60 miles an hour, 100 k an hour this afternoon. I haven't seen any sign of it yet. And my massage therapist was in this morning. She says, "Oh boy, the Toronto Hydro, that's our electric company, is totally prepared for big trees to be down and power to be out, and everything else." So I said, I couldn't care less. I said, I've got generators at all my houses. So.
That's great. Very funny. I've got a massage therapist coming in 26 minutes, so I'm looking forward to that myself. Very nice.
That's a very relaxing thought.
I think you're right. Absolutely. Well, I've enjoyed
wonderful chatting.
Yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation.
Wonderful chatting. Always wonderful chatting.
And we're back on for next week too. I like that.
Yes, we are. Yes,
okay.
We are.
I will talk to you then.
Okay, Dean.
Okay, have a great day.
Bye.